Right away, JJ lets us know, hey, Trek fans, this is Star Trek, I promise. Remember that really annoying warbling beep on the bridge throughout the original series? I updated it. Now it doesn't make you want to tear your eardrums out. Lens flares. Abrams loves them. Are they a tad overused? Maybe. I think they add a certain polish to the overall feel of the film. So for me, they're a win. But just one. So that's a big ship. I'd be crapping my bell-bottom high waters for sure. Holy, what an insane opening to this movie. This is not your grandma's Star Trek. Also, a little scientific accuracy with the silence of space. Skinny babyface Thor. What a beautifully crafted scene. Mostly muted surrounding sound effects, focusing this intensely tragic situation on our main protagonist's birth and immediately giving him a larger-than-life hero to live up to. Self-sacrifice. Gets me every time. Hemsworth earned his spot in the MCU. Come on! I know I claim we're in the golden age of things all the time, but I've just now decided that we are definitely in the golden age of title cards. So exciting! And the score! Oh, I love this score! Beastie Boys are always a win. This is a perfect showcase of Kirk's divergence in this timeline. In the Prime timeline, he has a captain father to look up to, and in this Kelvin timeline, he has a stepfather he clearly doesn't respect. And while this may seem like a rebellious kid just rebelling, Kirk is very intelligent and calculated.
You get one scratch on that car, and I'm gonna whip your ass.
I believe the insinuation is that his stepfather is abusive, and therefore he deliberately destroyed his antique, might be 60s era Corvette, I think? Wait, is Abrams throwing the original series off a cliff? Ha! Restrained themselves from showing us the explosion of the car. I really appreciate getting Spock's origin in younger years as well as Kirk's. Especially the hints towards his IQ even amongst Vulcans where he's supposedly at a disadvantage for being half human. Love the green blood and green bruising on his face.
Ministers, I must decline.
This scene may feel very Kelvin timeline, but I actually believe it likely went very similarly in the Prime timeline. There are a few episodes in the original series that deal with Spock's heritage and the conflicts that arose from having a human mother. In fact, she even recounts this fight in conversation in Journey to Babel. Point is, Quinto gets flack for seeming constantly angry and that he made this decision on a whim. But he was in Starfleet in the Prime timeline, and he obviously would have been accepted to the Vulcan Science Academy as well.
2 Cardassian sunrises.
You think they stopped serving Cardassian sunrises after the occupation of Bajor?
There are 4 of us and 1 of you.
So get some more guys, and then it'll be an even fight.
There's that classic Kirk arrogance we love. Brutal. / possible murder.
Enlist in Starfleet.
If only Wesley Crusher knew he could just enlist. This is one of those times when you have to let something go, like a starship being built on land, so that your main character can have an important life-changing moment, and I accept that. Also, Utopia Planitia, Iowa.
What I left is my bones.
Nickname win.
He didn't believe in no-win scenarios.
I don't believe in no-win scenarios.
This is something that's been true of Kirk all along, but what happened on the Kelvin actually gives more weight to that belief.
I'm gonna give you a vaccine against viral infection from Milvarn mud fleas.
Helping your friend. Yep. Yes. Yes, sir. The Enterprise has never looked better. Honoring the past while updating and futurifying the bridge. Very similar layout and a little isolated eye lighting as a callback to the original series. And without any reference to the original series, the new bridge is fantastic. And the new jump to warp has never felt faster and more forceful. There's Chapel! Vasquez rocks. Everywhere.
I pick up no Romulan transmission, or transmission of any kind in the area.
It's because they're being attacked.
Maybe he doesn't deserve it, but don't you all get the warm fuzzies because you know he's right? The size and scale of the Enterprise has never felt more imposing. It's not some quickly maneuverable ship that can duck in and out of debris. It's huge. Making the new view screen also a window was such a smart decision. You know, for times when the view screen is out, which happens constantly.
I can't wait to kick some Romulan ass, right?
Yeah, then you might want to take that red shirt off. See?
What kind of combat training do you have?
Fencing.
Reference to the naked time. Another insanely beautiful, intense sequence.
My parents will be among them.
Can't you beam them out?
I must get them myself.
Saving your parents. Saving your friends.
I estimate no more than 10,000 have survived. I am now a member of an endangered species.
Bold move to kill off most of the Vulcan race, but it very aggressively sets this timeline apart from the original series.
Our destinies have changed.
It was the best way to go about a reboot. The original timeline still exists. I have the DVDs to prove it. But this gives the new timeline the ability to go out on its own and not get stuck under the shadow of the original. There's always a bigger beast. Also some pretty frightening creature design. Leonard Nimoy is always a win. This movie catches a lot of grief for Kirk landing on the same planet as Spock Prime. But how many M-class planets do you really think were in viewing distance of Vulcan? Spock didn't want to condemn Kirk to death, so he sent him to a planet with a Starfleet outpost. Nero wanted to make sure Spock Prime lived long enough to view Vulcan's destruction, so he made sure it was M-class.
Are you out of your Vulcan mind?
Euphemisms. Let me show you what I mean.
Are you out of your mind?
I tested it on Admiral Archer's prize beagle.
Not Porthos. Actually, that dog would be really old.
Trying to hit a bullet with a smaller bullet whilst wearing a blindfold, riding a horse.
Analogy win.
It never occurred to me to think of space as the thing that was moving.
Wait. Did Star Trek just reference Futurama? Yes, I know all about the Alcubierre metric. Well, I don't fully understand it or anything, but I know about it. Still, that was basically the same thing Kubert said.
I just lost my planet. I can tell you, I am emotionally compromised.
Real Spock rocks.
Live long and prosper.
I know that transwarp beaming upsets some fans because if you can beam from one planet to the next, what do you need starships for? Well, just because they have functional teleporters already doesn't mean they don't still walk across the courtyard at Starfleet Academy. Just because we have cars that can drive to the top of mountains doesn't stop us from hiking said mountains. You're forgetting that Star Trek has always been about exploration and adventure. Plus, are you just going to beam yourself into the Delta Quadrant's fluidic space and chill with Species 8472? No, you're going to take a ship there first. And then you're going to spend 7 seasons trying to get home, only to never let us actually see you land on Earth. Don't get me wrong, I love Kirk, but there's something so satisfying seeing Spock kick the crap out of him. Even if it is the equivalent of a grown man choking out a 13-year-old girl.
I married her because I loved her.
Honesty.
I would cite regulation, but I know you will simply ignore it.
See? We are getting to know each other.
Blossoming friendship.
Give me 1/4 impulse burst.
You know, I give them credit for even acknowledging impulse power. It's something they could have easily overlooked in this simplified reboot. It may not have been Star Trek, but it is now. And Phaser Disruptor, I guess? Shootout is fun times. Another cool little update I like. Although the swivel setting changes means there's only 2 phaser settings. Meh.
Jim.
Warms the heart to hear Spock call Kirk Jim.
Fascinating.
Destroying the San Francisco Bridge cliché dodge. Literally.
Incoming missiles. If the ship is hit, the red matter will be ignited.
Apparently, Luoxana Troi doesn't know Spock is leading the Narada into a trap.
Captain, I picked up another ship.
Love me some Enterprise tearing it up. Saving your friend.
I've never beamed 3 people from 2 targets onto one pad before. That was pretty good.
Reveling in a job well done.
Your ship is compromised. Too close to the singularity to survive without assistance, which we are willing to provide.
Logic and compassion win.
I would rather die in agony than accept assistance from you.
Armed phasers fire everything we've got.
Kirk catches some flack for this move, but you have to realize just because he offered him help doesn't mean Nero isn't still his enemy, especially considering his response to that offer. I've got to give a subverting expectations win here. Abrams and co. had a really easy opportunity to satiate the frothing Trekkies who are currently writhing in their seats because they undid all Star Trek with this timeline change. They very easily could have let the ship get sucked into the black hole and reset the reset with some more time travel, but they didn't. They stuck to their guns, which obviously opened up so many opportunities for retelling our favorite stories with a new and updated spin.
If we eject the core and detonate, the blast could be enough to push us away.
One more tough one to explain. Nerd mode on. The warp core sounds important for warp travel, and it is, but you need to think of it more as an energy source for warp travel. As long as there was enough reserve energy in storage, the warp field would have been maintained. You also have to remember that things inside a warp field or a bubble will stay inside that bubble and continue to travel at faster than light speeds until the warp field decays, which according to Next Gen takes about 2 minutes, which would have been plenty of time. I admit the whole thing's a bit wonky, but to be honest, the science always has been. It's all theoretical, so who's to say? The Enterprise is alive!
I am not our father.
New Spock meeting old Spock is a win. And done very well. Nimoy doesn't overshadow his successor the way other original crew members might have. Man, no matter what Pike does, he ends up in a wheelchair.
Bones.
Shatnering.
Space. The final frontier.
I cannot tell you how happy I am they gave the honor of the Oath monologue to Nimoy. He's forever cemented in the changing of the guard. So I didn't bother with a disclaimer this time because I knew it would be clear right away that I love Star Trek. I've seen every episode of every series, every movie, have Memory Alpha set as my homepage, can hold my Romulan ale, and occasionally bore my friends with Star Trek parallels to real life because everything has been done best by Star Trek. Next Gen is my favorite, followed by DS9, but I love the original series. Leonard Nimoy, may he rest in peace, will hold a special place in my heart forever, and Zachary Quinto can never and will never replace him. And I love JJ Star Trek. I'm not telling all you Trekkies out there that you have to love this movie the way that I do. I just want you to know that it's okay if you do. You don't have to turn in your communicators or stop discussing holodeck safety protocols and snorting beetle snuff just because you like the reboot. Although you shouldn't be snorting anything, so stop that. You already know I love Star Wars as well as Star Trek. I also love DC and Marvel, Call of Duty and Battlefield, Kirk and Picard. Yes, I said and. Don't get me wrong. It's super fun to argue over the finer details, and it doesn't mean I don't prefer one thing over another. But liking one thing does not preclude your ability to also like something different. I can like Kirk's brash, ladies' man, gunslinger attitude while still loving Picard's diplomacy first, violence is a last resort, Ryza outfit wearing shiny head. They are not mutually exclusive, and I really wish our culture could accept that. Rant complete. On to why this is a great movie as well as a great Star Trek movie. And the reason is simple. Enterprise, the Quantum Leap guy's show, not the ship, killed Star Trek. I really like that show, and as many people have noted in the past, it had just started to pick up when it got canceled. But Star Trek as we knew it was dead. In our current TV climate, another true-to-form Star Trek series would not succeed. This reboot was a shot of adrenaline into the collective franchise, and not only made Star Trek cool again, it made it cool for the first time for a lot of new fans. I personally know quite a few people who got into the TV shows because of this movie. And shouldn't that make true fans happy? That more people will enjoy real Star Trek because of this film? That's why this is good Star Trek. CBS never would have greenlit the new show without the success of this reboot as well as Into Darkness. Come back here in 5 months and flame me in the comments like you're doing about Batfleck if I'm wrong, but I don't believe the new show will be anything like the original series or The Next Generation. Obviously, it won't be full-scale action like the movies, but don't expect to hear 10 minutes of Treknobabble from a Geordi-like character about recalibrating warp coils while reversing the polarity of the main deflector dish and malfunctioning plasma subroutines in the matter-antimatter intermix chamber. Anyway, what was I saying? Right, Star Trek reboot. The lack of Treknobabble and scientific continuity aside, this movie worked. Is it more of a Star Wars movie reskinned with Trek characters, sets, and ships? Maybe. But it's also still very separate from Star Wars for me, by being a theoretical future Earth and having the good guys and bad guys, not just black and white good versus evil. Nero was crazy, sure, but the Romulans just have some different opinions on some stuff and things, and point is, Star Trek isn't fantasy. Even still, Abrams, as he proved again with Episode 7, knows how to pull out some emotional responses from his audience. And for a fun sci-fi action summer blockbuster, this movie does so well better than most. Also, some great comedic moments and triumphant victories that get your blood pumping. Was the Prevent the Revenge plot simple? And did they screw up the science a bit? Sure. But this was intended as an origin story at its core. Warp core. The story of this movie is how Spock and Kirk meet, which is something we've never really seen in too much detail in any Trek before. When the original series started, they were already friends. I'm excited to see their friendship grow in the new timeline. Other than the budding friendship, there are a few other themes on display in this movie. Kirk's character arc from screw-up to captain, and Spock's arc from shame over his heritage to acceptance of his human side both boil down to logic versus emotion. It's a common theme in the shows as well, and Kirk and Spock meet somewhere in the middle after starting from opposite ends. Kelvin Timeline Spock is a strict rule follower and under constant scrutiny as a half-breed. His first act down his path towards disorder is joining Starfleet. By the end, he takes his own advice and agrees to
put aside logic, do what feels right,
and lets his feelings guide him. Kirk, on the other hand, is lost and wandering. His first step towards purpose and order is to join Starfleet. And speaking of Kirk and Spock, Chris Pine is as Shatner Kirk as he possibly can be without being laughed at for a silly imitation. He melds Shatner's Shakespearean acting skills with what we know about Kirk as a person perfectly. Quinto also brings in the best parts of Nimoy while adding his own flair. It's hard to do Nimoy's constant stern look that still somehow has a warm kindness behind it, so really I'd give anyone trying to fill those shoes a pass. Leonard Nimoy cannot be replaced, reproduced, or replicated. On the other hand, Carl Urban manages to do Grumpy McCoy almost exactly like the legacy DeForest Kelley created, but it feels totally genuine. I hope he gets more to do going forward. The rest of the cast is also well chosen. Anton Yelchin's Chekhov was spot on and led to some of the best comedic moments. He will be missed, and his tragic passing will obviously be felt far beyond the reaches of Star Trek.
Victor 2. Authorization not recognized.
Pike, as a father figure for Kirk, was a smart move as fan service, and Bruce Greenwood executes it very well. And Zoe Saldana never disappoints. Her Uhura takes Roddenberry's dream of a racially diverse crew to the next level by giving her a bigger role than in the show. My biggest complaint about these reboots is the lack of established Trek aliens. Where's the Horta? Where's Baylock and his Tranya? Where are my space mobsters? They just open up so many different opportunities. You know what? I take it all back. If Beyond doesn't have Zachary Quinto tap dancing around Chris Pine's head in a threatening manner, I'm boycotting the movie. You better get it together, Justin Lin.
Oh, that's weird.